We got this Facebook Marketplace find last night. These are what I think are Speed Engineering headers. They're used, they're a little beat up. Got a nice little dent here. You can see on one of the primaries, but the rest of them seem okay. Not looking for the best quality. These were just a good deal. I paid $350 for these. I got new gaskets and some new spark plug wires and those spark plug wire sleeves on the way. But I'm gonna see what I can do to get these cleaned up, just because the finish on it is pretty bad. Not really worried about the X pipe or the bottom of the headers. I kind of want to just make sure that the parts that you're going to be able to see from the engine bay, which, you know, it's already pretty crowded, so maybe halfway down, like maybe to about here, maybe to this first bend. So I'm just going to be doing these sections here. See what we can do to get them cleaned up. Okay, this is the result with some 220. Definitely some deeper gouges where maybe it was clamped onto and bent, but I'm gonna get the air powered sanding disc out and see if I can just take those down a little bit and see what kind of result that gives me. But overall, not too bad. I'm already happy with the brighter silver color. So you realistically only be seeing like about here, but I'm just going halfway down this pipe. Okay, you can see we made quite a bit of progress. What I was doing is using the air tool here, 120 grit pad, and trying to get some of the casting marks out. You can still see they're on there. I don't really know if they're casting marks or just where they bent the pipe and needed to hold on to it, but yeah, they're coming out. Doesn't need to be perfect, just better than what it looked like. You know, here's a little before and then after. Definitely looking fresh. I think I'm up to 600, so I did 220, 400, and now 600, and this is what I'm at. I don't know if I'm going to keep going. I may take a torch to it and try to blue them up, or maybe I'll just leave them silver. Okay, so I was doing some testing, wanted to see what this is propane. It's a very light discoloration of bluish gold. This is MAP gas, so it burns hotter, and you can definitely see there's a lot more color to it, of that light blue and then kind of purple, gold, excuse me, and then yellow. So I think I'm going to do just these rounded parts of the primaries here and get that kind of bluish going, maybe just like in these sections here, try to keep it even and see what that looks like. Just finished up some bluing, some MAP gas and Windex. Wipe it down with some Windex. It's supposed to help get a little deeper color. I think the color pops way more in person than it does on camera, but maybe this will look better on my computer than the GoPro screen here. But overall, I'm happy. I mean, $300 headers, you can't be mad at that. Got the color all done on the headers. Time to get the stock ones off. Got the neighbor here.
I made it.
So we're getting these ones off and we're gonna get the new ones on. Okay, you can see cats are out. Got the X pipe hanging. Got to get the manifolds off next, but we're gonna get this pulled out too once we get the back unbolted. But I think it's only like 2 13s or maybe 15s up there. Another 2 13s. I think these were 15s. So 15s, 2 15s, and then had to hammer these off. See, I got everything laid out here. Old headers, you can see, are a tight 4:1. Big chunky primary cats, secondary cats down there. I measured it. This stock is like an 1.75 inches about. The aftermarket headers, I assume these are Speed Engineering. This is 1 7/8 inches, which should be good for like low end, mid-range power, and then it goes into dual 3-inch pipes. So definitely a huge upgrade. Okay, a little shipment from Speed Engineering here. I got new manifold gaskets, I got new plug wires, and I bought these titanium sleeves for the plug wires because I've read online that aftermarket headers with no heat shield will melt these, so we're trying to prevent that. So let's I guess get the manifolds on with the new gaskets. Okay, so it's the next day and we got some problems. Was able to get the driver's side headers in. These weren't too bad. Definitely a lot easier if you have a lift. Definitely not impossible on the ground, just using jack stands or whatever. Definitely had to come from the underside. I was trying to see online, some people say, oh, go from the top. No way it's coming from the top. Okay, so you can see this side is in. So this is the passenger side. I have the headers in but not bolted up. I had to remove the starter. I also had to remove the dry sump oil lines, which are the lines running down there. So if you have a dry sump car, you need to take those off, which means you got to drain all the oil, remove the lines, make a huge mess, you know, 10 quarts of oil in this thing. So another tip, definitely remove your spark plugs. I cracked one of the ceramic coating or the ceramic shield on one of the spark plugs. Definitely remove that. So I can't get that one in just yet because I ran into an issue. I was putting the starter back in and the solenoid positive terminal completely broke off. So what I did is I ordered a C7 Corvette starter with the heat shield and a new plug that'll fit right there. Just got a couple things in the mail. Looking at some adhesive backed thermal insulation that's going to go on the torque tube tunnel, and we got some sheathing for my wires and whatever pipes I'm going to do. So I'm going to go into their car and get those done now. Okay, so here's the final product. I just did the center strip up here and both walls of this, I don't know, torque tube plate and tunnel. So where the X pipe goes will be all protected, hopefully. I have some smaller sheathing coming. I'm going to do these transmission lines or whatever these are, maybe differential lines, but I think they're trans lines. Going to get these all wrapped up. Just don't want to be cooking the fluid back here. I may buy another sheet of this and do some spots like on the transmission here, maybe just to help. I'm not sure. It's only like 18 bucks for this big roll of it. I think it was 40 inches by 12 inches, and that was enough to definitely do everything in here as long as you cut properly. And wanted to leave the bolts exposed in case I need to get to them later. I don't want to have to deal with peeling this all off because it's pretty sticky. But yeah, overall I'm happy with that. I think that'll help. Take a look at the new starter. So I broke off the corner of this one, like I said. You can see we're missing the plastic here. It's just brittle from being old and hot. This is the original. This is the new one. So this is an OEM C7 Corvette. So I ordered a 2015 Corvette starter with the heat shield off of Rock Auto. It was probably 120 bucks. You need to get your own hardware for it. The only difference I can see is it's a little bit smaller size wise, not nearly as long or as heavy, even with the heat shield. The other thing you need to order is a starter plug. So the plug on this one is not the same as this one. You will need to order a different plug with the pigtail. So I need to get this wired in and then get this on. Let me show you what I got before I put it all together. So it looks like we got the extension, new plug here, and I bought some heat-proof thermal tape. I did the transmission lines here as well as this, because I know this is going to be pretty close, but I will try to get this all tucked up out of the way. But we're going to get the new starter in now. Okay, you can see C7 starter is in. with the heat shield, and I did some other heat shield wrapping on my new wiring, also on the trans lines here, and the header is fully installed. So let's move on. Here's a view from the top. You can see the heat shield down there protecting the starter and some of my other wrap, I guess heat-proof wrap. But yep, the headers are all in. I gotta get the O2 extensions on next. So unfortunately, the Speed Engineering O2 sensor extensions aren't long enough for me to get these routed without completely rubbing against the headers. So I found some spare wire, and I'm gonna extend these probably about maybe 10 inches each. Okay, so here's the O2 sensor extension with some heat sheathing on it. I extended it about 2 feet. So we probably have 4 feet of O2 sensor extension. I don't see how the 2-foot extension from Speed Engineering would actually fit. So now I'm gonna try to get this installed. I ordered more of this heat shielding because I think it's gonna melt if I don't put it on there. Okay, so here's a view from the bottom. I have it going through the primaries up there, down behind the starter shield. I have it stainless steel zip tied to the transmission line. I have it going above the collector here. And then if we look on this side, I added some 3M 3350 HVAC tape. According to their website, this is good to 230 degrees. It's a good temporary fix for right now. And then there was a hole back here on the heat shield that I used another stainless steel zip tie to secure the connector to, because it doesn't look like there's much else, like maybe here, but I didn't want it to be all bent and jumbled up near here. So this seems to be the cleanest way I'm able to mount it. I'm waiting on some more of this like thermal tape to come in to do this side, and I will hopefully be doing the same thing here once that comes in tomorrow. Barely running. Better figure it out. More coolant. We're smoking. No leaks. Smoke's all right. We're burning off whatever's on the headers. Oh my God. This thing sounds insane. I didn't do a good job of documenting these last couple installs, but the CSF radiator did come in. I got that situated. The headers are on. I ended up getting a 3-inch to 2.5-inch reducer so I could use the stock mufflers on. I previously had Speed Engineering send me some O2 sensor extensions. They weren't nearly long enough, so I had to extend them myself. I then wrapped them in this heat blanket, we'll call it, this heat sheathing. And originally I had it going down through here. Quick test drive around the block told me that that's going to be a bad idea. On that same test drive, I had a big coolant leak out of the top of the water pump right down there. Of course, it's so tight, there's so many hoses, but I don't think my hose clamp was on tight enough, so I got that tightened down. I haven't started it since, but fluid wise we're good. O2 sensor extensions are now routed back over the engine, down the firewall. Got everything tucked high and away from the headers down there. Yeah, I think everything's good. I have a tow truck coming right now to pick the car up, take it to Cordis Performance. Something else I did, you can probably see some like streaking here. I had to chop up this plate quite a bit. The fit and finish on this was not the best. Like, I needed a corner piece cut out here. I needed to extend it further down here. You can see this is kind of me just shaping it with a grinder, and I needed to remove some material off of this side to get it to actually sit down in here and function properly. But yeah, I got some extra coolants in the trunk, extra fluids in the trunk, a bunch of spark plug wires, old spark plugs, pretty much everything I have on hand in case I need spares for this car. I don't have like a spare belt or anything, but yeah, we are going to get this loaded up on a flatbed and then take it to Cordis Performance in Tempe, Arizona, who's going to be doing the tuning later today, and fingers crossed it goes well. You can see the car is back home from the dyno, so let's talk about what happened. Here is our dyno sheet. Looks like max power was 517, max torque was 528. You can see we kind of peaked at max torque around 45, maybe 4,700 RPMs. And max power is up here at around 55, maybe 6,000 RPMs. Notes from the tuner, it says final was 9 psi peak with restrictor and very octane / timing limited on 91 octane. Suggests getting smaller restrictor or pulley up to target a 7 psi peak. So from my understanding, the issue is that this blower made too much boost for what our octane here in Arizona is good for. So we only have 91 here. I've been doing some research online, and it looks like my only other option would be E85 or meth injection. At this time, I don't think I want to do any meth injection or E85. I would prefer just to keep it on stock, or I guess pump gas. One other thing the tuner recommended is that the air coming out of the intercooler here is tumbling, and it's a turbulent airflow inside this pipe. He recommended I get a honeycomb air straightener, he called it, and it would be something I install on the straight section here to kind of straighten out the air as it passes by the MAF sensor, and that would give it a cleaner airflow reading by the MAF sensor. In addition to that, I think I'm going to look into getting a different restrictor plate. The one that came on here is 2.75 inches. I did some math online, and it looks like I would need a 2.65 opening on the restrictor. It's just a piece of donut aluminum or steel, whatever it's made out of, and it's just mounted right behind my air filter there. So I think what I'm going to do is get those two parts on order. I'll get them installed, and I will get back on the dyno at Cordis Performance. The tuner was extremely helpful. He had a lot of good notes and a lot of good, easy to understand information. I can't recommend them enough. They were absolutely great during the whole process. I had a couple other issues, like I forgot to ground out my Hobbs switch here. So he allowed me just to run over to an O'Reilly Auto Parts, and I made up this wire setup and grounded it out. Just one of the factory grounds there, but he was able to catch that for me, and that ended up fixing it. Nothing really else went wrong by any means. Fluids still look good. The car runs and drives great. I mean, it makes 500 and 527, so it definitely feels faster. It wants to spin tire easier. It's still fun. It's an improvement over stock for sure. It definitely sounds great. I think I mean, by now you'll have seen the clip, but yeah, not exactly what I was hoping for. 517 is kind of low. I was hoping for at least like 550, maybe 600, but yeah, we got some kinks to work out. I feel like there's definitely more in this car. He was pulling back timing down to, he said, about like single digits just to keep it safe, but he's, you know, weary of me doing pulls all the way to like 6,500 RPM. He said try to keep it under 6 just to be safe, and you know, you can see that's where most of the power is made anyway, is like right here, and it kind of falls off a little bit. But I think I'm gonna figure out the restrictor plate, a honeycomb thing for the charge pipe there, and get back on the dyno.